Hello, everybody! It's me again, and I'm back with another banger of a video. I hope that pierces your ears because no one is watching this video anyway. Hope it reaches something views. I don't know, but today we're gonna watch a video that I haven't watched in pre-time, which is good. This just dropped right now, like 51 minutes ago. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. I love this guy. He's Trafalgar. He makes ARK videos with group plays against, you know, big tribes and whatnot, mega tribes and hackers. He destroys them most of the time. He's pretty good at the game, which is a very bad game, by the way. Don't play ARK, please. If you're listening, if someone is watching this video, who cares anyway? But yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing today, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun. This video is gonna be hype as hell. I might do a two-parter again, not too sure, but we'll see. And yeah. Oh my God, this thumbnail is epic. The depth of Homelander's psychological issues. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I'm gonna take a picture of that. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, let's just get into it.
Let me tell you the story about how I led a guerrilla warfare campaign, teamed up with my greatest enemy, made some of my most insane grub plays yet, and ultimately humiliated a cheating tribe. It all started off with me wandering through a swamp. I had just recently transferred to the server with nothing but a minimal kit on me, and I was getting a feel for all those on the map. When
I've binge watched all this video, so I know all about his endeavors and whatnot, and shenanigans. He uses guerrilla warfare, basically, which is to delay and demoralize an enemy, slowly but slowly driving them insane and just making them lose the will to fight back. Essentially, that's what guerrilla warfare is, and he's gonna use this tactic in this video, I assume. He used it before against like mega tribe and a few hackers. He has only fought against few hackers before. This time it's a whole ass cheating tribe, so it's combined the two main threats he ever faced, which is gonna be interesting. We'll see how this goes out.
near the southeast of the map, I came upon the outskirts of a base. I started having a little look around. These guys were by far the most built up people on the entire server. And as I was having a little gander around their base, one of their guys flew out on a pterodon. It was a little weird that he'd seen me. I'd taken decent efforts to make sure I wasn't found, but he was just on a PT. This is a fight I could win. But it just seemed that he kept flying higher and higher. Something was wrong here. What the fuck? Oh, cheater! I had just been aimbotted. You see, Marius TK here had just flown up as high as he could into the sky with a pterodon, hopped off, and aimbotted me. In case there's any doubt that this would have been a legit play, here's what I looked like from his perspective. So from here, he would have had to hop off his pterodon, look at me, shoot me twice in the legs, because that was the only piece of my armor that was damaged, all while literally falling from the sky without using a parachute.
This guy reminds me of Fearless. You know Fearless? You know, like the guy from Fortnite who did like insane ass trick shots, and his voice sounds like Dream for some reason. Yeah, Dream Minecraft, that guy. I don't know if anyone even knows about the guy anymore, but like, he used to be the shit back then. But whatever, it doesn't matter about his origin story. I'm just saying, not origin story. You know what I mean. I'm just saying. He once did a stupid ass ludicrous trick shot to the horizon in the map, and the bullet reached a person somehow. That had to have been staged. I'm sorry, that had to have been edited or staged, because there's just no way. There's no fucking way. But this reminds me of that for some reason. While falling too. Reminds me of trick shots, I guess. he 360 no scoped him.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking safe to say this guy wasn't legit, especially when I went back to my body and found that all my loot was still there. That's the real hallmark of a cheater. See, Marius here belonged to a group called SMD. A real fucking tough name, guys. But see, here's the problem. Seeing as they were willing to use insane cheats against me when all I did was walk by their base, I'm willing to bet that I'm far from the first person to experience this. And the worst part is the devs have temporarily suspended customer service for the past year. I'm really starting to think that maybe they aren't working so diligently on fixing this issue. So what we have is the biggest and most established tribe on the entire server that is just aimbotting random people, and probably got to be the biggest on the server because of how much they're cheating, who are unlikely to get banned anytime soon. This is exactly the kind of shit I live for. A guerrilla warfare campaign against a giant cheating tribe.
Well, yeah.
Here was the situation of their base. Mainly built within what is called Pack Cave, probably the most defensible location on the entire map, raiding them was simply out of the cards. Additionally, they also controlled a very large area outside their base. But by controlling such a large area, they opened themselves up to a wide variety of rat attacks. Here's a map of the area around their base. Any significant cliffs I've gone ahead and highlighted in gray. It's worth noting that their main outside base was basically at the bottom of a cliff, and I was certainly going to take advantage of that. Their land claim, which is to say the area that only they're allowed to build in because of their foundations, is highlighted in light yellow. Areas protected by their turrets are highlighted in dark red. Heading within range of any of these turrets would mean I was dead in less than a second, and so I'd have to be quite careful around these. Now, whenever you're trying to do guerrilla warfare against an enemy, you need to know as much about them as possible. So I made sure to take my time on the cliffs above.
I'm gonna assume where he's gonna go. This spot would probably a very good spot to have a vantage point in. I don't know, maybe.
Their base, using the inbuilt photo mode to scout out everything they had, searching for any weakness. Before long, I found a griffin that they had left exposed. Now, turret coverage around their base was pretty good, but to keep out a rat like me, pretty good isn't gonna cut it. I experimented around trying to get an angle on this griffin, getting shot down and killed by turrets a couple times, until eventually I found it, and so I fired. I'd hit the griffin, but more importantly than that, an RG in their base had been left on neutral, meaning it was now trying to fly out and kill me. This was both a blessing and a curse. A curse because a giant fucking prehistoric eagle flying towards me and trying to rip me apart is always bad, but good because the AI was dumb. Really fucking dumb. And having scouted out the local area, there was a base nearby that had a whole bunch of Plant Species X turrets to the east. Now these aren't nearly as deadly as actual turrets, but I can work this to my advantage. Because I'm low to the ground, I should be able to dodge the slow-moving projectiles of the Plant Species X, whereas the RG up in the air isn't going to be nearly as lucky. And so I moved east as fast as I could. If I could kill the RG before SMD realized what was happening, this would be a perfect start to my campaign against them. Shoot the fucking RG. Oh, there goes Mikey. A high-level named RG was dead. This would be a great start to the long journey ahead. Not only that, but the base to the east had proved a great help to me. But little did I know how entwined our stories would soon become. At any rate, with this completed, I went and set down a little manufacturing base, basically right next to their base. I didn't even bother putting walls up because I knew it'd be gone pretty much instantly, mainly just to repair some equipment and armor, but I did throw down a bed just so I could respawn at it nearby. After this, I returned to the area that I'd been sniping from, laid down right next to my own fat dead body, and got back into photo mode. Oh shit. Oh no, orange pterodon guy is here. This was bad. The same orange pterodon that I'd been aimbotted by was coming back to base.
He's gonna wall hack.
Not happy about what had just happened. Up on the cliffs above their base, this would be a risky place for me to fight them.
What is that weapon? It looks so
pterodon
cool.
was pick me up and drop me in turrets barely 50 feet behind me. But I had a couple bolas. If I could wind one of these up and hit the pterodon before he was able to drag...
If I were to choose a name for that weapon, I'd call it the Ballista.
Drag me into
no reason at all. It just sounds cool.
Turrets. The pterodon would be immobilized, and the player on top would be forced onto the ground. From there, if I could bola him, hacker or not, he was done for. This is risky, but I'd make my stand right here and now. The pterodon was bolted. I needed to quickly get the player. Shitter. Marius TK, except this time without the cheats. And unsurprisingly, this guy had been dog shit. Me accepting a fight right next to their turrets had been pretty fucking dumb, and there's no reason in the world that I should have won that. But like most cheaters, old Marius here was pretty ass at the game without his cheats. Now, in order to make a quick getaway, I used an ability that I grinded to unlock that transforms me into a cat. So I quickly scampered into the jungle, and I was in the clear. Don't fucking ask me why they added this to the game. I don't know who the fuck thought this was a good idea, but it is actually a pretty good tool for ground grubbing, so I'm not gonna complain too much. By the way, looking at his stats, all of his points have been put into either HP or Fortitude. He's had 105 points to spend and literally 0 of them have gone into weight. This guy can't fucking farm for the tribe at all. He just hops on to aimbot people. Having a fucking freeloading loser leech tribe mate who can't farm for the tribe even if they wanted to is insane. With a successful fight under my belt against SMD,
What a cool
I
looking
was
weapon.
excited. These guys were cheaters, but they were also complete ass at the game. There could not be a better target for guerrilla warfare if I tried. So with that, I went a little bit north of the mountain near their base and set down a cozy little Ted Kaczynski shack. I didn't have any crazy plans for this. It was probably going to get blown
Like
in
that
pretty
reference.
soon, but while it was still up, I could easily repair my armor and weapons here. After that, I put away most of my gear and just went to observe their base some more. When I was there, I saw a guy going out on a Megatherium to go grab a bunch of berries outside their base, so I tried to make a play on him, and ultimately I was unsuccessful, but it was pretty damn funny seeing a guy on a Megatherium go running back to base as fast as he can because a literal naked guy with bolos and a club attacked him. How in the hell did a tribe like this manage to become the biggest on the server?
Yeah,
After
that sounds
little
so
bit of
pathetic,
humiliation,
honestly.
I went to tribe up my buddy Mateos. Now, he was like the lucky llama to my spoon kid. His aim is frankly a lot better than mine, and he also doesn't have a mic. So, having added my mute compatriot to the tribe, I once again respawned to go and observe SMD. Watching them for a little bit, I saw an opportunity. One of them was going out on a metal run on the mountain nearby. This could be big for us, so I quickly devised a plan. As the RG was flying towards the mountain, me and Mateos would both kill ourselves. Mateos would then spawn on our southern beds. From there, he would lay low, acting as sort of a scout, constantly relaying the position of the RG guy to me. Meanwhile, I would spawn at the northern beds, re-grab my kit, and go down to make a play on him. If we both played our roles just right, this guy wouldn't stand a chance.
Nice plan.
Near the
What can
top
I
of the
say?
mountain, I saw him. I followed him for a bit, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. With him landed, it was now or never.
That looks scripted as fuck. Why is he just standing still? Why?
A perfectly executed ambush. Mateos now had this guy's kit, and so we set to killing the RG. Right after the RG was killed, we noticed that reinforcements had come. But this was just a Pterodon guy. He'd be easy pickings. As soon
Probably
as
a
this guy
fan
was dead,
too, he was
we were
wearing the goblin
swarmed
armor.
by them. There wasn't much we could do. A large number of them were on griffins, an incredibly powerful tame, and so Mateos fled into the woodland nearby, while I was not nearly so lucky. I had been picked and dragged into turrets. However, as soon as my respawn timer was up, I respawned on the same bed that Mateos had used to scout them, and I found a nice pile of loot waiting for me. No way. I'd been able to respawn and come back to the scene of the battle faster than the guy who had been killed, and so now I was walking away with his incredibly powerful Ascendant Fab pistol. The fact that I run away as a cat like stuffed full of loot somehow makes it so much fucking funnier. All in all, that little ambush had gone pretty well. Mateos, since he had safely escaped, now had a kit, and I had simply traded my kit for a better one off of these guys. And in the process, they'd lost an Argentavis. Not only that, but we were now beginning to hamper their ability to gather metal, the most important resource in the entire game. Not bad at all for two little grubs out in the jungle. Our final act of the first day was to head a little bit northwest, just sort of away from this accursed peninsula, and create another, much more hidden base that we would actually store our loot within. It would have been pretty dumb to keep all our loot in the base, like, you know, right across the mountain from them.
Grubbing up.
At day 2, we took a little bit of time to assess our strategy moving forward. When you're conducting guerrilla warfare, the enemy is almost always going to be more numerous and better geared than you are, so you're forced into doing what are called grub plays. And in order to have a successful grub play, there's 2 things you need to have. First is good info about the enemy and what they're doing. For example, when we jumped the guy on the RG, since we knew he was doing a metal run, we knew that he'd be on a pretty weak tame by himself, and we knew exactly where he'd be going. Second thing you need for a successful grub play is the ability to quickly engage and disengage from the enemy. So in our case, because we had those beds set up, we were able to quickly jump him, and because of the woodland, we were able to quickly get out of there. At least Mateos was. And so to ensure future success in our grub plays, I decided to set up some grub infrastructure. Basically, I set down a bunch of 1 foundation shit shacks in the woods. Inside, there was nothing except a bed and a box that contained a basic gear set. By having easy respawn nearby, we could partially negate their numbers advantage against us. And it also ensured that whenever these guys fucked up, we'd be able to easily exploit it. Now, if they decided to hunt these down and destroy them, it wouldn't really matter, because they only take a few minutes to throw up. And even when they did destroy these, I simply patched them back up. Doesn't matter to me that the wall behind me is on 200 HP, there's nothing of value in here anyway. As I'd been putting in place all the grub infrastructure, Mateos, because he's a lazy bum who hates farming, had instead spent that time observing their base. However, he had managed to spot a griffin that they had left outside. Finding an angle on this would be difficult, but we were up for the task, and so we took some time in the Redwoods base to suit up. I personally would take along the very good pistol we'd taken off of them, and after waiting for the sun to set, we departed in the dead of night.
Badass. It's tough, it's cold. Sigma even. Look how Sigma you are. How skibbity toilet you
Navigating
are.
the cliffs around their base, we maneuvered into a position overlooking the griffin. They'd left this entire cliff face completely unguarded by turrets, a stupid mistake that we were sure to take advantage of. Is it on neutral? Oh shit. Oh shit. The griffin was on neutral. We had to quickly maneuver to the east, back to those plant species X. We had to be quick about this, before SMD realized what was happening.
Oh my god, Ethereums.
A high-level griffin was dead. This one was named Benike, a person that we would learn, frankly, far too much about much later on. After this, we made our way out of there, I put my kit away, and we went to see what the reaction would be. Eventually, Mateos saw one of them fly out towards the mountain, probably out looking for us, and so I pulled my implant and respawned on the closest 1x1 we had, threw on that kit, and went outside to look for him. Oh shit, he's on top of me, yo.
It'd be funny if he wins this.
Cat mode, go! Disappear! Making the fucking
It's like
great
his
escape
cursed
as a
technique,
cat.
dude.
I told you this shit was good for grubbing. He began fruitlessly searching around for me, but he'd entered the jungle, and this right here was grubbing territory. So I followed him, just waiting for him to make a single mistake.
Yes, it's rocket, you're fucked, Mateos.
He would go to loot Mateos. This was my chance.
Followed him.
All right.
Got him. He's on con.
Benike here had just been knocked out cold. Of course, I took his kit, but he had also left his griffin on neutral. Want to take a guess at what we ended up doing?
All right, I'm going to plants because it's on neutral. Oh, it's done for, dude. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. It's dead.
With the griffin dead,
Yeah,
I made my
swamp
great
fever.
escape with this guy's gear. He had C4, rockets, a crazy good sword. Not bad, considering I'd taken it from him with an oddly shaped lump of wood. This base to the east of them had now helped us kill 3 very good tames from them, and the owners of the base were none the wiser. In typical guerrilla warfare fashion, by this point we were now making it unsafe for them to even leave their base. And of course they weren't exactly too happy about this. So they beckoned Marius to hop back on. Now, it started innocuous enough, just a little bit of blatant speed hacking on a griffin.
Yeah.
Huh.
That was
That's funny.
pretty suspicious, little bro.
Nothing major. Another time I went in cat mode and hid behind a rock near their base so it would be literally impossible for them to see me. And in photo mode I just observed them for a little while. Mary is just kind of aimlessly wandering around the base doing nothing, until he stands perfectly still for a little bit, like he's tabbing out and turning on his cheats, and then something pretty telling happened. Why is he looking straight at me?
That is
Oh my
terrifying.
God. He's looking right at me. This is scary. This was like something straight out of a horror movie where the monster's not looking at you, you look away, and then the moment you look back, the monster's staring right at you. After pretty blatantly ESPing me like that, his buddy flew over on a griffin and killed me. A little bit after
Wait, I gotta go. Real quick.
that, I was hiding
Back. I literally just my delivery the delivery guy placed the order in the wrong house, and I had to sneak out and just grab it from there. And the house had a fucking security camera. Like, what the hell? They're gonna think I stole it. Whatever.
In a bush near their base again when something super awesome happened. Now this clip's a little confusing because cat mode is buggy, but what's happened is he's picked me in the claws of his pterodon, and he's now taking me back to turrets where I'll be instantly killed. But you're still able to hear local chat when you're dead, and so knowing this, Marius had a super important message to pass on to me.
Cabert, I coming for your base. Simple, yeah? I coming for you. I coming for your base. Nick.
What a weird little guy.
Did he just fucking say the N-word? That's hilarious.
As strangely funny as all of this blatant cheating was, it certainly wasn't making guerrilla warfare any easier. I mean, it's pretty difficult to ambush somebody when his teammate calls out your position when you go within render of him, and so it was time for drastic measures. You see, if we're unable to keep them occupied and do sufficient damage, SMD is going to keep using their cheats, their aimbot, their ESP, their speed hacks against everybody else on the server. And so I went with the nuclear option. I made my way to that eastern base. So using cat mode, I dodged the plant species X around his base.
Oh.
And got under a ramp where I was safe. And so as a disgusting fat man was hiding in the crawl space under his home, I spoke to the owner of this base.
Hell yeah,
I knew
Floomy.
exactly who this base belonged to. A man known as Floomy, my greatest enemy. On and off for the past 6 years, we've had beef. You see, Floomy's a very particular man. He plays on the ArcPox servers, which wipe monthly. And every single month, without exception for the past 6 years, he has built in this exact same spot on this exact same server in the exact same way. I've raided him more times than I can count. And Floomy, well, Floomy always comes back. You see, Floomy was part of a small, tiny subsection of Arc players that have a very special ability. He genuinely likes farming. The monotony of chopping down trees and harvesting rocks, to him, is the whole point of the game. He even likes getting raided. It's just another opportunity for him to build back up. And so, hiding under his ramp from all his plant species X and speaking to him in local chat in German, because that's the only language he knows, I proposed something that never in a million years had I imagined us having: an alliance. See, Floomy and I certainly had our differences. I find his way of playing the game
so fucking
frankly
peak.
strange and boring.
Oh my.
But SMD is something far worse. The biggest tribe on the entire server willing to use the most extreme cheats the first moment they ever see you. Left unchecked, they'll simply kill the whole server. And so me and Floomy would become allies. This meant that any plant species X he owned wouldn't shoot me, and I'd be able to build inside his land claim. And when I told him about how I'd already used his plants to kill a couple of SMD's tames, he was greatly amused. Frankly, our rivalry had gone on so long that it was like an ancient blood feud. Neither of us even remember how it all started. To cement our alliance, I showed him the cat tech. He was in fact so amazed by this that he brought his whole tribe around to see, and I was able to make all of their acquaintances. Unfortunately, none of them spoke English, so I'd always have to use Google Translate to talk to them, but all the same, we were now brothers in arms. There was Floomy, who seemed like the whole mastermind of this operation. The guy's like a druid. His control over the natural world is frankly scary, and who I've never ever seen refuse to build back up after getting raided. There'll be 2 days left before the server wipes and he'll have been completely raided, and he'll still build back up. This old bastard refuses to quit. We then had Kabi, who certainly took after Floomy in her willingness to continually farm. And last we had Kaba, who from what I could tell was like the jock of the group. He's the only one of them that genuinely seemed to enjoy PvP. And so, having now allied with these 3 interesting individuals,
They enjoy the game
the whole
somehow.
circumstances of this war had changed.
It
Like any
sucks.
other guerrilla warfare organization, having the support of a well-established group would pay serious dividends. In fact, we'd kind of graduated into a paramilitary organization for Floomy now. Any damage whatsoever that we caused to SMD would make them weaker, which would make Floomy stronger. And so, our options for fucking over SMD had just massively expanded. And now, with our alliance with Floomy solidified, day 2 came to an end. As day 3 began, it was like a whole new chapter for us. The world was our oyster. There was far more we could do against SMD now. So we sort of took an accounting of the entire map to see if SMD had any outposts, and we found a few. The first one was built at Green Ob and would basically allow them to transfer loot on and off the server completely uncontested by enemies. Protected by 4 auto turrets, it wasn't exactly going to be easy to destroy, but the line of sight on these turrets was garbage. They'd placed them far too close to rocks, and so using very high quality armor that we had grubbed off of them, it was time to do my least favorite thing in this entire game, running turrets. I'm effing scared. With the generator turned off, I breathe a sigh of relief. I'll never get used to the feeling of having a bunch of turrets just shoot me up. You know what, maybe I shouldn't phrase it like that. At any rate, with the generator offline, we could do some serious damage to them.
That is epic.
Okay. The 4 heavies protecting this little
Bloody
outpost were
epic, mate.
destroyed. These are pretty expensive to craft, and so we had not only eliminated their uncontested control of the obelisk, but we'd also cost them a pretty penny too. Further north, they had an outpost of pretty much the same design, except I'm pretty sure this outpost was for mining metal or something, because it was right next to the volcano where a lot of fucking metal spawns, and luckily this time I didn't have to run it. Hooray! Instead, we simply used these innocent little trikes to face tank all their bullets. Face tank in the most literal sense. When you're soaking with a trike, the bullets have to hit the face, otherwise you take more damage. Once our trikes were severely concussed, the turrets were out of ammo, and 4 more heavies were destroyed. Having dealt with seemingly every outpost of theirs that we could find, we once again returned to their main base, where they had recently placed a couple turret towers up above their base. These would make jumping them significantly more difficult, so they had to go. The first one was pretty easy actually. They had left the windmill in an area where you could just barely get to it without being shot, so I just went ahead and disabled that. It is now offline. And so now there's a couple turrets without power.
All right.
Unfortunately, after this, the rest weren't going to be nearly as easy, but I had devised a strange scheme. You see, I noticed that turrets that were by themselves sometimes struggled to hit you in cat mode. This wasn't super consistent, sometimes they would just shoot you, but using this, we decided to do a little bit of cat suicide bombing. Mateos would simply strap a piece of C4 to the face of me when I'm a cat, and I would run up to the turrets and have him detonate it. Now, of course, sometimes this didn't work, but other times it did.
This is so fucking cool. I love that.
Okay. Through this highly amusing and very strange new tech, we had destroyed a good number of their turrets and significantly reduced their coverage above their base. I'm willing to bet some pretty fucking real money that these guys are the only ones on the entire server who have a guy that is transforming into a cat just so he could suicide bomb their turrets. For no real gain, mind you, just to fuck them over. But also, I doubt there's anybody on the server that would aim by you whenever you walk next to their base. So I guess all is fair in love and war. A little bit after this, Flumi asked for my help in a task they were setting out for. You see, they wanted to destroy some of the land claim SMD had closest to their base and replace it with their own. Now, since they'd have to carry quite a lot of C4 to do this, they asked for my assistance literally just as a bodyguard. If a fight broke out, they trusted me to win it for them. And of course, I agreed to help my allies. And so we set out and started clearing foundations. About halfway through, a guy came out on a griffin, but instead of moving in to stop us, he just sort of watched. This guy was scared, and so under his watchful gaze, we cleared away his spam and replaced it with our own. By now, Flumi was beginning to wrestle control of the nearby mountain away from them, and all this guy could do was sit and watch. After returning back safely from this mission, seeing as me and Flumi were now united in the fight against SMD, I proposed something very beneficial for the two of us. I asked if we could build a base within Flumi's land. See, because we were allies, his land claim and his turrets would not affect me, and to my relief, he agreed. This was a huge come up for us. You see, for a variety of reasons,
Nice.
although I love hidden bases, they're very bad for farming. You can only have a few small crafting stations, you can't leave any tames out, and overall you're just not able to farm effectively, which is exactly why we had been forced to use very primitive gear against SMD. And whenever we wanted to use more advanced gear, like when we went to snipe the griffins or run the turrets, we had to use shit that we had captured from them. But if we were able to build a non-hidden base protected by all of the plants that Flumi had, this would no longer be a problem. We could leave our tames out, easily farm on the mountain nearby, and most importantly of all, Flumi would allow us to use his industrial crafting stations, which were far more efficient than the shit we were using now. This base built inside of Flumi's land would allow us to much more efficiently farm, and in exchange, if Flumi were ever to come under attack, we'd be right there by his side. The
Great.
walls were starting to close in on SMD. They were losing their outposts, some of their outermost turrets were getting destroyed, they were constantly getting jumped outside their base. They were losing control over the most important resource they had, their nearby mountain, and one of the very few advantages they still had left over us, the quality of their gear, was soon going to be going away now that we had a base in Flumi land. Seeing the end of his tribe in sight, one of their members, Benike, had a pretty psychotic idea. See, to the north
What?
of them, there was this small upstart
Oh,
tribe
no.
called Mongols. Having started only a few days ago, they were far, far weaker than SMD. And seeing this, Benike decided to bring over a golem and begin raiding them. Just as all their turrets were out of ammo and their door was on 1 HP, Benike relented. At this point, he told them that they're now allies. Mongols, seeing literally no other option, of course agreed to this. And so, with their base just about to be completely destroyed, Benike left them. This had all been some sick, twisted power play from him. If he had simply approached them and asked to be allies, Mongols would have agreed instantly. The biggest tribe on the server wants to be your friend? Who's gonna say no to that? But in that situation, they would have been something like equals, and that wasn't what Benike wanted. He wanted Mongols to know that at any moment he could crush them. You really do get the impression that he was getting a fucking sick kick out of having power over someone in a video game. He would literally just humiliate them in global chat for fun. The Mongols guy would ask Benike if he needed anything, and Benike would say he needed the guy's sister, and then when the guy said he
What?
didn't have a sister, Benike would say it's because he took her when the Mongols guy was a baby. Putting away the
What?
fucking disgusting implications of that. This was all
Yeah.
just some humiliation ritual to make sure that Mongols stayed in their
What a kinky
place.
bitch.
And the worst part is that it worked. A few hours later, when I was speaking to somebody in global chat about how SMD was cheating, Mongols would fucking stick up for them. I tried to talk to Mongols and explain to them how
What?
these guys are fucking cheaters, you shouldn't be buddy-buddy with them. But Mongols would say that they had basically no choice. SMD had just strong-armed them to join the war against us.
Damn,
and so
they're
me and
bitches.
Mateus
They
were
got
forced to make a
bitched
tough decision.
bad.
Do we leave Mongols
They are
and allow
frauds.
SMD
They
to
are
have an ally
bums.
so
Oh
close
my
at hand? One that would
God.
instantly snitch out our hidden bases if
Nah,
they found
man.
them? Unfortunately,
They're
we decided
wusses.
that Mongols simply had to
Spineless
go. As I'd been
motherfuckers.
offline, Mateus had
No
raided them.
pair.
It really was awful that SMD had basically forced our hand into raiding a tribe that we really didn't want to raid. And this whole episode really did give the impression that Benike loved flexing the power he got from being in the biggest tribe on the server. It was so fucking pathetic. And so
It
on
is.
that day, we learned that even members of SMD that weren't cheating, like Benike, were still fucking scumbags. And so we would redouble our efforts. SMD simply had to fall.
Ah.
At the start of day 4, we set out to begin Operation Rage Bait. With their empire crumbling to sand around them, we decided our goal now should be to simply piss them
Operation
off
Rage
and
Bait,
see if
that's
we could
funny.
fill up the rage meter. The first step of this was pretty simple, just sniping a griffin.
Go. Dead, dead, dead. Nice. Good shoot. Let's fucking get out of here.
Which would be a decent little deposit into the rage bank. And of course after that we talked shit, which was sure to piss them off just a little bit more, but you could see that they're pretty low down on the rage meter right now because they're still giving snarky responses. After that I began simply hanging outside their base, waiting for one of them to come out so I could jump them. While I was here, I saw a guy on a Miguana start flying towards a yellow drop.
Alright.
I was willing to bet that he was probably going to land there, so I began making my great trek over there.
Thank you.
Finding that he indeed had stopped to look at the yellow drop, I moved in. Oh my fucking god. A whole
He's
shit ton of turrets,
loaded.
a bunch of ammo, and a cryoed Anki. I quickly grabbed all this shit and made a run for it, terrified that at any moment Marius was gonna come by, ESP me, and get all this crazy loot back. But I made it safely back to Floomy Land. This was absolutely going to piss them off. See, the guy I'd grubbed was called Tech Turret, and I'd never seen this guy before. This was because, after the events of yesterday, SMD had been recruiting to try to bolster their ranks. And Tech Turret here was a member of a big tribe on another server that had just recently been raided, and so now he was going to join SMD with whatever loot was left over from his raided base. An injection of fresh blood and fresh loot. Exactly what SMD needed. Except they weren't going to be getting that fresh loot, because the reason he had spent so long at that drop was because he had been downloading his loot from the other server to bring to them. And that's when I jumped him and took pretty much all of it. Now with my new heavies and ammo, I decided to give them to Floomy. Now see, as much as Floomy likes building plants, he doesn't really like building turrets. However, plants work much better when actually protected by a turret. For example, rockets. Plant Species X really struggle to shoot rockets out of the air, whereas turrets have no trouble with that whatsoever. So this is all to say that by donating these turrets to Floomy, his base was going to be so much more defended. Now, I kept 2 of the heavies
Nice.
for us and just put it in our shack, but that's basically the same as giving it to Floomy because it's right next to his base. I'd also grubbed a cryoed Anki off of them, which is the best dino in the game for gathering metal. This, in combination with an RG I already had, plus Floomy's industrial smelter, meant that we were basically fucking rolling in metal now. Thank you, Tech Turret. I really appreciated the loot donation. Although the Anki we got off of this dude was a very, very good one, they're really not that hard to tame. But it's always infinitely more fun when you get to use somebody else's dinos that they had spent time taming and then leveling up. I was using their Anki to farm on their mountain completely by myself and feeling totally safe doing it, which shows you just how much the situation had deteriorated for SMD. Now, I was on a bit of a hot streak, so I went to go over to their base to see if there was anything I could snipe, where I then found a Pyromane that as soon as I shot it, it was on neutral, so it just kind of hopped out into the swamp and then got a whole bunch of bullets in its face. To keep just pissing them off, I started talking a lot of shit to them in chat. The guy literally claimed that Marius's abilities all came purely through skill. One day, I hope that I too will have enough skill to see people through walls and to speed hack with a Griffin. I especially targeted the Tech Turret dude
Good one.
because he was going to be very upset after losing all that good loot to me. And I could tell I was absolutely getting on this dude's nerves. He even asked for the coordinates to my base at one point, so I very confidently gave him the coordinates to like the middle of nowhere so he would waste his time going over there to check. At this point, through a bunch of
That's
shit talking and
hilarious.
tame sniping, their rageometer was right around full. I only needed to piss them off one more time. And luckily, about an hour later, I could see one of them just barely outside of range of their turrets building some strange structure. And so obviously, it was right about time to jump them.
Whack 'em.
It was my old buddy Tech Turret. Now, he had nearly nothing on him, but he had a couple little knickknacks, which I went ahead and just despawned immediately. And he had a couple choice words to gift to me.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah, really fuck you, mate, bro. You're just doing the random bullshit, bro.
I decided to keep him unconscious for as long as I could, so I fed him some narco berries. But soon after, Ben Ike came by on a Griffin, and I was forced to run away.
Nice. Turn into a cat.
After I got away, Tech Turret accused me of cheating because I teleported away, when all I did was use cat mode to get out of the claws of the Griffin. But by now, the rageometer was full. Something very drastic was about to happen. At this point, Ben kept asking and practically begging me to get in a Discord voice call with him. Of course, I kind of refused because this dude's a fucking weirdo. But then he just kept trying to ask me to go in front of him. He wanted to show me something, and I wasn't dumb enough to reveal myself, but I was intrigued, and I began watching him from afar in photo mode. And realizing that I was watching him through that, he first dropped like an N-bomb for really no good reason, and then he did something that he really wanted me to see. I had just barely looked away, but this heavy shooting had just killed Tech Turret, who had just been kicked from the tribe. That's what Benike had wanted me to see. They were just so angry in general that the straw that broke the camel's back apparently was Tech Turret screaming for them to help him when I jumped him. And so now SMD's most newly recruited member was out of the tribe. No fresh loot, and now not even any fresh blood. This is like the fucking scene in the movie where the main villain kills one of his henchmen in front of the hero to prove a point or some shit, but as always in Benike's case, this was some weird power play from him. He had wanted me to see Tech Turret get killed by one of their turrets just so the guy would be fucking humiliated. Another one of his fucking sicko plays. Now, I'm not gonna shed any tears over Tech Turret. The guy was not exactly a ray of sunshine. And frankly, outside of Benike and Marius, Tech Turret was probably the person on the server who most deserved that kind of treatment.
Racist
and of course, SMD tearing itself apart from the inside was a great boon in our war against them. All the same, it was still very interesting to see that Benike's cruelty extended even to the members of his own tribe. There truly was no honor among thieves.
I kind of wish he would have went on a Discord call with him, honestly.
On Christmas Day, yes, literally, as I'd been napping after having, frankly, far too much chocolate, I'd begun receiving messages. Flumi was under attack. SMD had begun the raid by having Marius speed hack forward with a golem. This wasn't gonna be a legit raid. Hopping on shortly after the raid had begun, I took stock of our situation. SMD had almost instantly taken control of all the area that wasn't protected by our Plant Species X. And even then, realistically, Plant Species X was only gonna delay them. Our only real defense was the core of the base protected by auto turrets. The situation was grim, but not hopeless. To the south and east of Flumi's base was a stretch of swamp. SMD's control over this area was tenuous at best. And although crossing through the swamp could prove treacherous, it would allow us a fresh supply of resources and reinforcements. Because you see, some of my friends, who I've sometimes referred to as goopers before, were already playing on this server. Hearing of our plight, many of them would make this crossing to join us in the defense of Flumigrad. The swamp would prove to be our own little Volga River. As I began hopping on, the situation looked desperate. SMD was making solid advances along our western defenses.
That's not good.
Additionally, a few of our guys had been captured alive and handcuffed, meaning they literally weren't even able to respawn and join us until they starved to death. The balance of power was most certainly against us. Although our defenses stood for now, at this rate, defeat was certain. I needed to take charge of the situation and turn this battle around. As soon as I came outside, I saw exactly what
Turn the
Marius
tides
was
of
doing.
battle, matey.
He wasn't aimbotting, thank God, but what he was doing wasn't much better. He was fly hacking up above our base, using ESP to see through the trees, and he had some weird hack that made it so when you got shot, all 5 pieces of your armor would take damage, not just the piece that was hit. This would make it 5 times more expensive for us to repair our armor, putting a great strain on our already very limited resources. However, successfully using the rocks we had in our area, we eventually were able to minimize the effects of this. I then had everybody rotate to the west to counter the rock golem. They were using this to smash our outermost plants, and so I directed everybody to focus fire on the rider. We landed some hits, but we were using primitive pistols. He was able to continue destroying plants. At this point, I noticed that the rock golem rider was getting far too cocky, and so I told Flumi to change the targeting mode of the plants to target the rider instead of the rock golem. And because me and Flumi were boys now, he trusted me and did this right away.
I swear we should be hitting the player dead, player dead, player dead.
I was able to drag his corpse to safety where I could loot it without being sniped. He had little of use except a flamethrower. which I eagerly grabbed. Following this mistake, we were granted a small reprieve, but before long, they had changed tactics. Using a Griffin to simply shoot rockets at every plant species X we had, this tactic was going to be very expensive for SMD, but I doubted they cared. They wanted us gone at any cost. Ultimately, there was little we could do. They had total aerial superiority. We had nothing that could match their Griffins in the air. I targeted teams of people to fire upon the same Griffin, but this would do little more than simply delay them and bleed us dry of resources. All the meanwhile, Marius would just speed hack wherever he wanted, causing us great damage wherever he went. But we didn't plan to simply sit still as they worked their way into Flumy's base. We were going to mount a risky counteroffensive. Leaving Flumy's tribe behind to hold down the fort, we broke through the northeast, wrapping around the nearby mountain, hoping to encircle the enemy. However, this attack had been doomed. Soon after being called out by Marius's ESP, we were cut to pieces by Griffins, swooping down and killing us as they pleased. It was a fucking massacre, one that we could scarcely afford. A defeat here would spell certain doom for the defense of Flumigrad. However, I had one final trick left. The flamethrower we'd taken off of them. I don't ever use flamethrowers. They're so strong, so easy to use, that they're complete aids to play against. But if ever there was a tribe that deserved that treatment right now, it was SMD. If I could go down there and somehow clutch up this fight, there might be hope for us after all.
You guys need help right now?
I'm coming. John, hold out! Reinforcements are here! Flamethrowing one.
Oh my god, this is badass.
It's
Hell
all just
yeah.
burning. Right away, I'd killed one. Archie guy?
Keep him occupied. Keep him occupied.
Dude, I'm doing more than keeping them occupied. I'm fucking killing them.
Stick to cheating, shitter.
Somebody recover his kit. I'm gonna flame Bob.
Literally fireworks.
A stunning reversal. By the time I was driven from the field, 3 lay dead. We'd looted them dry,
MVP.
and SMD had lost all their momentum. The battle was swaying back in our favor. At this point, we even found a use for the 2 caged guys we had. One was able to get his photo mode camera through the wall and share screen on Discord, so the guy just became like a fucking camera from Rainbow Six Siege. We could look over and see exactly what SMD was doing. And the other became a dedicated shit talker. And following our recent victories, he had plenty of material. Following their humiliation by my flamethrower, they had brought out a fire wyvern. I guess they literally wanted to fight fire with fire. This was the most impressive flyer they had in their arsenal. Upon seeing it out in the field, we kept our distance. Being caught out by a wyvern would be certain death. However, observing it from the edge of render distance, we noticed that Marius had left it unattended. This was our chance.
Everyone that has a fucking gun, open fire on the wyvern. Go for the head. Is it on neutral? Oh my god.
The wyvern was on neutral. SMD had fucked up big time.
Coming up the hill. Yes! Oh, it's dead!
Is it dead?
Marius had practically just fed us a wyvern. No wonder this dude had to cheat. Following this, we
Fucking
returned to
dog
base
shit.
to repair our armor and re-gear. With a catastrophic defeat out in the field, SMD was forced to temporarily lift the siege around Flumigrad, and Flumy's tribe was very happy to see us return home victorious. Although this had been a great victory, the battle was far from over. We'd liberated the mountain and a large section of the northeast, but because of the FOB SMD had in our western area, they were still able to maintain control of this. SMD was far from done, but we were on a much more even footing now. We began skirmishing with SMD up on the mountain. Despite our recent victories, those griffins were still no joke. We had to play smart. When I heard a Thylo rider jumping towards me, I began moving to safety. Marius had just accidentally speed hacked into our plants. We weren't gonna let him get away with that.
Bola, sweet Kisco Bola, bro, please!
The guy actually had fucking anti-bola hacks. But what he didn't have were anti-bullet hacks. With the rider dead, the griffins were unable to do anything except look down as we killed their Thylo. Good old Marius. Just a big shitter feeding us tames and loot. Thanks a whole lot, buddy. Marius had gotten so used to winning with his cheats that he'd been literally running around naked on the Thylo, when in the inventory of the Thylo there was multiple sets of perfect condition flak armor. These guys really weren't used to people standing up to them. In fact, Marius had been so humiliated that he rage quit after this. With the loss of their cheater, SMD stood no chance against us.
Follow him, he's fucked.
My buddies
turned
had
the tides of
bowled one
battle
just outside of turret
instantly.
range. Let's see if I can't just bring him a little closer.
I'm bringing him in.
Harvest.
Give me the bullets, give me the bullets.
A fucking insane capped ascendant pistol. A very, very nice haul. In fact, SMD was so disorganized that after killing this guy, we were able to go out and simply butcher his parked griffin. A high-level griffin dying in the dumbest way possible. After this, SMD's attack lost all steam. They would try to push forward with the Stego, and we would easily repulse them. Before long, they pulled back altogether, leaving their fobs completely unprotected. With these destroyed, SMD's attack was truly finally over. Despite their best attempts and their pretty fucking insane cheating, things would go back to exactly the way they'd been before, except now a bunch of SMD's tames were dead and a bunch of their loot was ours. Although at a couple points it looked pretty dire, this had been a giant victory. Of course, we took some time to bask in the glow of victory, talking a lot of shit in global chat, saying shit like they should cheat in some skill next time, just calling them noobs because that sounds like the kind of shit that would piss them off, and they had basically no response for it except Benike asking us to add him and talk to him on Discord. The guy's a complete weirdo to the very end, it seems. The happiest out of all of us was probably Flumi. Flumi's very good at building a base, but when it comes time to actually defend it, he often struggles. Remember, we've spent the last 6 years beefing, so I know from personal experience that he's not the greatest at defending his base. But by combining our strengths, Flumi's love of farming and our love of grubbing, we'd put up a defense strong enough to hold back a cheating tribe. A very rare thing in Ark indeed. We had just withstood the first siege of Flumigrad.
Nice.
The second siege of Flumigrad began about 6 hours after the first. Since it was around midnight, this time SMD hoped to catch us all offline. However, there was still a couple of us on, so when I got the messages I hopped on, even though frankly I wasn't needed there, because the second siege of Flumigrad was a complete fucking farce.
You okay?
Watch with the plot axe.
No, keep him knocked out.
Tate here had just donated us an Ascendant compound bow, one of the most expensive weapons in the entire game. And would you
Yum.
look at that, the Tate's dumb play counter has just jumped up to 1. Soon after basically throwing this loot to us, Tate would come back on his Desmo and decide to try to make a play on us right next to turrets.
Dude, you have infinite long neck ammo.
Hello?
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh no.
Oh my god, dude, get him.
With his Desmo bullet within Plant Species X range, it was quickly killed. But have no fear, right after this, Tate hopped on an RG and prepared to slaughter us all.
Hit him. Dude, there's no way he's actually coming for us. I don't believe it, bro. I don't actually believe it.
Hold on.
I don't.
It's Tate
I'm
again.
gonna
It's
hold it.
fucking
You get the
Tate.
guy?
Tate, mate. Log off for tonight, buddy. Log off for tonight.
The guy had very generously brought us a bunch of turret ammo. And all that ammo on him because I'd baited him to attack us by shooting his RG when he was filling up their fob's turrets. But here's a clever idea. Maybe put the ammo away before pushing out. And after this, he accused us of cheating because we bullied him off his Argentavis. This is now the second member of SMD to accuse us of cheating. After this awesome play by Tate, we just sort of began shit talking. Obviously, after 3 really stupid plays like that, we had quite a lot to say to them, but so too did Benike. He first had this really weird remark. He then followed that up by complaining about how mean people are to each other in this game, which was subsequently followed by him talking about how there's no lag in real life, so he would easily beat the shit out of all of us, followed by a couple N-bombs because he thought my tribe mate was black. The duality of man has never before been so apparent.
That's
After a
the
good
order
bit of
too,
shit
by the way.
talking, SMD started packing up their forward operating base to leave. However, we weren't just gonna let them get away scot-free. Near their fob, a couple of us began
I'm gonna go real quick. Back.
Fighting an RG guy.
Going for me. That was way too high. He's going for the drop or some shit? He might be going for stam. I heard him land.
He had landed for stamina. Now was my chance.
I bullied him, top of the mountain, Luke. Oh, he just dropped a knock nade. He's just throwing knock nades. Bro, I'm just dodging. You gotta get him. This is all you, bro.
Hey, log off for tonight, buddy. Log off for tonight. Oh.
Once Dodo knocked him out, he found a cryoed mammoth on the guy. Thanks for the tame donation, Tate. As Dodo ran home to depot this tame, me and Flumi, plus Lou on his weird-ass roll rat, teamed up to kill his RG. After this, their fob was completely overrun and they lost all control of any ground they had gained. So we pushed forward, right up against their base. But good old Tate was ready to push us back.
All we have to do is bowl it. Oh, he bullied him.
Once again, Tate had been very easily punked out, and in response to this, Benike brought out a lightning wyvern. Now, if you remember before, last time they brought a wyvern, we had to keep our distance. But at this point, these guys were such fucking jokes that we stayed right where we were and simply shot it to bits.
Bro, he's actually kind of fucking butt.
Sorry I'm not commentating that much.
Now, I want you to keep in mind, wyverns are very, very fucking good at killing people on foot. That's basically what they're built to do. And this lightning wyvern had just been sent packing right outside of their own fucking base by people armed with long necks. The second cheapest gun in the entire game. But then again, Marius wasn't on, so we couldn't expect too much from these guys, could we? In fact, with the lightning wyvern almost dead, they brought out a different wyvern and actually tried to push us on foot.
Ground guy pushing with bolas. I'm gonna be honest, you're on your own tonight.
Yeah, you do that yourself.
Dodo the
That guy's
MVP.
bullet. I knocked him out. Just knocked him out.
Dodo had played well, managing to knock the guy out, but he was done for. The guy had bullied him. Stuck in place for about 20 seconds, and with a wyvern wanting him dead, it was GG's for Dodo.
Why was coming for you
Wyvern
now?
coming.
Women.
He can't aim.
Oh. Loot.
I'm dead. I might be. No, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please, I gotta get this loot out.
Is he left clicking or is he actually spitting?
Somehow these guys had fucking failed to kill Dodo, a stationary target, with their wyvern. I don't think words begin to even describe how embarrassing that is. So we had broken the siege around Flumigrad and pushed right up against the base, and we were just parked out here with most of us on foot using pretty shitty gear, and even with wyverns they weren't able to push us back. It's actually crazy how much these guys relied on Marius. After this, there wasn't too much activity. At one point, Benike tried to push out on a griffin, and then he just ends up getting picked by one of our guys on a pterodon. And somehow that's even more embarrassing than the wyvern incident. A griffin should literally never lose to a pterodon like that. But at this point, a play that shit from them wasn't even surprising anymore. The second siege of Flumigrad had been a complete and utter failure. We had triumphed once more. Early next morning, once again receiving messages that we were under attack, I hopped on. But this raid would be very different. Having already failed twice, SMD had only learned one lesson. They hadn't been cheating enough. Marius would use every little weird cheat that he had. As I was going to add a new recruit to the tribe, I would have my first sighting of this.
The defense is gonna be so. Oh my god.
Marius was just flying around speed hacking on a pterodon.
I'm coming to. Oh, he got back on, bro. Dude.
Disappeared! Oh my god! 300 meters in 2 seconds.
The only way we could even keep our eyes on him was by pinging him and watching those pings fly across our screen.
If he's in range. Bro!
But even worse than that, he was using that in conjunction with an auto
Pussy.
cheat, meaning whenever he got within 10 feet of anything, he would automatically loot it. He was able to use this combination to devastating effect. The guy would simply speed hack next to our plants, loot them without even having to open his inventory, and just keep flying through. He was speed hacking so hard, he wasn't dodging a Pixies X-Fire, the plants simply didn't have enough time to shoot before they were picked. Rounding a hill, I found that almost all of our northern plants had been picked. Less than a minute ago, the plant coverage had extended up to this point, and now they were all gone. More than 50 plants destroyed in less than 30 seconds.
He's dead.
This fucking idiot had flown into our turrets. Because these are hit scan, they killed him instantly. But he had still caused Flumey a great amount of damage. Around 80% of all Plant Species X were now destroyed, greatly compromising our defense. And using photo mode, I was able to see them setting up a forward operating base. They were very serious about this raid. In fact, as we were trying to scrounge up any supplies we could, including demolishing metal structures for resources, Marius began aimbotting.
Oh my god, I got aimbotted right outside the front door.
The situation was dire. Their abusive cheats had greatly shifted the balance of power in their favor. But in our darkest hour, as we were struggling to even repair our own armor, Flumey would open his doors to us, allowing us to use anything he had. In this moment, none of our little hidden bases or our hidden stashes mattered. The only thing that mattered now was that for once, SMD wouldn't be able to cheat their way into victory. Win or lose, we would stand here and fight to the bitter end. In fact, I'd already submitted 2 reports for this tribe, both with video evidence, and yet here they were, cheating all the same. Like usual, Wildcard's enforcement was fucking useless. We'd have to fight these bastards all on our own. We continued struggling against them. At one point, Mateos had managed to pick Marius. He then bullied him. But now Marius had a whole new cheat. Despite being bullied, he was still able to walk, with no one else nearby to help him. It was down to Mateos to finish off this cheating bastard. At this point, Marius lays down and begins speed hack crawling to get away. Fucking guy even died like a rat. Now at the scene where he'd been killed, I began helping Mateos with killing Marius' tame. Marius had speed hacked back over here on a pterodon. He was whistling to get the Desmo to fly away. But not on my watch. With the Desmo bullied, it'd be on the ground for 30 more seconds. Plenty of time. A griffin had picked me and began dragging me away to be killed, but this is a sacrifice I was perfectly happy to make. While I was getting dragged away, my boys could stay behind and finish killing Marius' Desmo. Once I got confirmation from them it was dead, I pulled my implant and respawned at the base. This victory gave us hope. Even when Marius was using cheats we'd literally never seen before, he could still be beaten. Our new hope was soon tested. SMD began moving up with a Stego to soak up all the bullets in our turrets. If these ran out, our base would be nearly defenseless. We moved up with Thylos to push them back. Facing the smallest bit of resistance, they instantly backed off with their Stego and went straight back to cheating. Marius once again ran forward to destroy more of our plants. Once again we bullied him, but he just kept fucking running. Having picked many of our plants that still remained, we were now down to probably 10% Plant Species X coverage, and our turrets only had about half their ammo left. We were very close to defeat. Sensing this, SMD's next move would be pretty obvious. Marius would begin suicide rocket running our base. With almost no plants to oppose him, he could get very close to our base. And if every time he died, he managed to destroy at least one turret, our base would quickly be overwhelmed. But in this regard, we had one ace card, a Bison. With his name literally being Bison Master Mateos in my Discord, Mateos was just the man for the job. Using the Bison's secondary attack, he's able to launch the enemy back into the air, allowing all our turrets to easily shoot him and getting him the fuck away from wherever he's trying to go. And as long as those of us on foot were able to act as spotters, pinging Marius for Mateos, they wouldn't be able to make any progress.
RPG, RPG, RPG! Mateos! Right here, Mateos! Throw him back, get away from the base!
Oh, nice, he's dead.
Detected, enemy detected. He's coming right for the base. I heard death. On the go, he's around the go here ping. I see him. He is on ping. On ping. Oh, he's fucking flying, bro. Yeah, he just slow fall to prevent fall damage.
Yeah,
Nice, good kill. I'll check loot.
Nice.
In typical Marius fashion, the second he started losing, he once again rage quit. And with their cheater now out of the fight, this time, SMD didn't even try to fight us. They just packed up their bags and left, once again leaving behind more forward operating bases for us to destroy.
Let me get this. Let me destroy that shit. Uh-huh.
Yes, King.
Another victory for the Gooper Flumi Coalition. We found it very funny that the success of each raid was determined entirely by how much they were cheating. The first raid they had cheated a moderate amount, so they had a moderate amount of success. The second raid the cheater wasn't on at all, so they didn't have any success at all. And the third raid they cheated the most, and that was the raid that had the most success. Frankly, they'd had us on the ropes. If Marius wasn't such a little bitch and didn't rage quit when things went a little bit bad for him, they probably would have had us. But with 3 failed raids in like 2 days, we once again fired back up the shit talking. And fucking Benike began crying about how he'd been online for the past 28 hours preparing for these raids. Like, what do you want, fucking sympathy from us, dude? Get the fuck out of here. Once we had sated our appetite for shit talking, we got to rebuilding. Mainly just throwing up some more plants to grow. A few hours later, after his temper tantrum had died down, Marius would come by and use his weird cheats to pick the plants, but without an actual raid to back him up, this was just kind of pathetic. By the way, the craziest thing about all these raids is that on the first raid, he didn't have this weird auto pick ability. So I think after the first raid failed, Marius had gone out and specifically gotten more cheats so he could do this weird ass strategy. Instead of learning from his mistakes and genuinely getting better at the game, Marius would just rather get better at cheating. So despite Marius' sabotage, we continued preparing the base. They had made it very clear that they would be coming back once more. But in reality, it was already too late for them. You see, across the mountain from them, a very advanced tribe from an entirely different server had transferred on and were conducting a server raid. With SMD built in the best location on this map, they instantly drew these guys' attention. Now, on the one hand, this was good for us because SMD was about to get their shit pushed in, but also not too great for us because we live right next to them and we'd probably be next on the chopping block. However, in a stroke of immensely good luck, in global chat, one of the guys in the server raiding team recognized one of the guys in my team. They'd been in the same tribe a few months ago, and so
nice.
We had nothing to worry about. They began
Lucky.
their attack against SMD, and once I saw that Desert Titan get downloaded, it was GG's. Now you see, SMD might have stood a chance if for the past 5 days all of their effort and resources hadn't been put into trying to get rid of us. For example, if Benike had instead spent those 28 hours preparing his base, they might have stood a chance against these guys. But we had soaked up more than enough of their resources and time to where they had greatly fallen behind in progression, meaning a tribe that didn't have a guerrilla warfare organization dedicated to fucking them over was able to come by and easily sweep them up. SMD had been completely wiped out. And all of this had
Nice.
happened because Marius simply couldn't help himself but aimbot me when I went anywhere near their base. Without that, they wouldn't have had guys killing their tames, ambushing them, rage baiting them, making them kick their own tribe mates, and worst of all, help a nearby rival take control of their primary source of metal. And so, a bit after their base had been raided, I went into the cave that had once housed them and all their tames. I headed as far as I could go, found the only smithy they had left in their entire base, transformed into a cat, and hawked a nice little fur ball up on it. Get fucked, you cheating bastards. And thus, with their scourge removed from this server, random people wouldn't have to worry about getting picked on by a giant fucking cheating tribe. There was only one thing left for me to do: say my goodbyes to Flumi and his whole tribe. For literal years we had been enemies, but this wipe, we'd stood together against cheaters. By the end, we had trusted each other so much that we had literally opened our bases to each other, literally offering everything we had. And so, as I expressed how nice it had been for us to be allies for once, their whole tribe agreed and they all wished me farewell. Next wipe, who knows? Maybe we'd be enemies, or maybe we'd be allies once more. But all I know is that today, we had succeeded.
Nice.
Thank you.
Love this video. It was epic. It was hype. I loved it. The thumbnail is still fucking killing me. Oh my god. I'm gonna make that this video's thumbnail. Honest, no, that's no, I won't. But let's try to see a good image I can snatch up real quick. No, nothing. This looks good enough.
Very strange new their turrets. I'm willing to bet some.
There. Well, gotta stop recording. See ya.